Welcome back in. Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. We go now to our buddy Ryan Girdusky, data guru of the voting universe. He is down in Texas where they are having their primary today. A lot of big different battles that are taking place in the state of Texas in the Republican primary. Again, encourage all of you to go vote. My wife Laura is working. It's got to be careful. The phrase working the poll definitely sounds like a stripper. And she is working at a polling site. I don't think you're working the poll there, Ryan. Hopefully not, anyway.
Yeah, no one would pay, so.
Yeah, that wouldn't be. I don't think you'd get a lot of dollar bills.
No,
I don't think neither Buck nor I would either.
Yeah, I have a lawsuit against me.
So Buck and I were just talking
Mm-hmm.
VP, right?
Yeah.
As to what Trump is going to do. And I said yesterday on the show that I thought if I were betting right now, I would take Tim Scott, that Trump believes that he can make a run at black male voters in a way that has not occurred before. Buck says not going to happen.
There's Trump's belief and there's what's going to happen. Trump believes it, sure. I'm saying it's not going to happen. It never happens, but Republicans are obsessed with talking about this. Ryan, what do you say?
We both agree black women are not going to vote for Trump, and they're not moving much. But are black men, in your opinion, based on the data, persuadable? Do you buy into the idea that Trump seems to have bought into, that he can get black male voting support, potentially?
Clay said 25%.
I think he could get 25%.
Okay, first of all, if you're in northern Texas, please vote for Brandon Gill, who I'm campaigning for. Secondly,
Wait, that's Brandon Gill. That's my friend Danielle D'Souza's husband.
Yes, Brandon Gill, Texas 26, northern the Denton County area. As far as the black male vote, so this is what's happening with black voters. Older black voters are like 99-1 Democrat voters. So that is not changing. But as that population begins aging and dying out, younger black voters who are less connected to the black church especially, are more independent. I wouldn't say they're more Republican, but they're more independent. So you're seeing this gradual change. It's not, I mean, part of it is for Trump, but not all of it's for Trump. Part of it is just the changing demographics of that vote, especially for black male voters. Can he get 25% of the black male vote? I don't know. I think that's a little ambitious. Maybe he can. I think last time he got 12 or 15. Maybe he can break 20. That's probably at best, because part of it is just the demographic changes of younger black people, like younger people, period, just don't vote that much. As far as vice president goes, I have on good authority it's not going to be Tim Scott, especially after Tim Scott said that Mike Pence did everything right on January 6th. I think he's on some Sunday show. And I was told on good authority the last few people really being considered right now are Rubio, J.D. Vance, and Katie Britt.
I've been saying J.D. Vance all along, and the fact that, Clay's face just lit up. He's been the leader of the Katie Britt for VP squad here, on the radio at least, for a few weeks. And I will say this, Trump tends to like pretty, and she's pretty. So that helps.
Katie Britt is definitely pretty. She's good looking. She's really energetic on the campaign trail. She's very, very good. She was very close to Mitch McConnell, and she was late in endorsing Trump. So it might not be her, but Trump, I've heard from people in good authority that Trump actually has a very good relationship with her, likes her. He likes Tim Scott, too, but a part of it is an issue of loyalty that he questions and he worries about. There is definitely a deep conversation. I wrote this on my Substack, the National Populist Substack. There is a deep worry about both the relationship if he wants to have somebody he likes, because he didn't dislike Mike Pence, but they were never bros. They were never hanging out. They didn't exactly always vibe great together. That's part of it, but also he believes the Democrats are going to try to prosecute him for the rest of his life, regardless of if he does something, he doesn't do something. So he wants somebody who, if they're the next Republican president, will just
They've got his back. Yeah, they continue to protect all these MAGA.
You've been talking J.D. Vance. Rubio would kind of come out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, that's
break down the Rubio angle.
What's with the Rubio play on this? I would have never guessed that.
Well, he's probably the most prominent Latino in America right now. It's not going to be Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, I think, Ted Cruz probably just endorsed Donald Trump, but Rubio has definitely been talked about, and multiple people have told me that Rubio was in the running, and that now it's really dwindling to the top two, top three, and he's in the conversation. I don't know how serious he's in the conversation. Certainly, J.D. Vance and Katie Britt are very high in the conversation, and aesthetics matter and looks matter, and he loves to sit there and say they came out of central casting. So they came out of central casting, a part of it, yeah.
So Ryan, we're speaking to Ryan Girdusky. Check out his Substack National Populist newsletter. I'm a subscriber. Highly recommend you do the same. Ryan, for Super Tuesday, what matters today? Like, what are you looking at in terms of these numbers? We'll have the data for everybody tomorrow, or the outcomes for everybody. But what are you looking at and saying, well, that'll be an interesting indicator, or that will at least be something worth paying attention to? Because right now it feels like Nikki Haley's about to get wiped out in 15 states plus American Samoa.
Yeah, I mean, she might do well in Vermont, but we'll wait and see. She did make history. She's not the first woman to ever win a Republican primary, so she has that at least to put on her head. But the thing that we're looking forward to, I mean, Trump did very well in the suburbs of Michigan, surprisingly well. I thought that Haley would probably break 45% on a few of them, and she really didn't outside of Ann Arbor, which was surprising. So I'm going to look at the northern Virginia suburbs of D.C. to see how they vote. It's a lot of government jobs, but also the Richmond suburbs to see how they vote, if Trump's strong or not with them. I'm going to look at to see in the Texas suburbs of Dallas, which are trending blue every single solitary year, how they do. And I'm also very importantly going to be looking at how Hispanics vote in South Texas and in other Hispanic hubs, because Biden has been performing very badly with Hispanics in the Democratic primaries, and that no one has really been talking about. But turnout among Hispanics has not been strong, and support for Biden has been weaker overall among Hispanics in the Democratic primary in the early states. Even in like New Hampshire, which is not very Hispanic, but there's a few Hispanic precincts, he performed worse in. So those are really two things I'll be very, very heavily looking at. What are the suburbs looking like, and what are the Hispanics in the Democratic primary looking like? Because those are two key constituencies that both men need to do well with.
Ryan, do you buy into the fact that Trump is up right now? I know last time we talked to you, you said you would pick Trump if the election were then. I'm assuming you'd pick Trump if the election were today instead of Super Tuesday. Biden saying the polls aren't accurate, but I've also seen behind the scenes, and again, you never argue the polls are inaccurate if you're doing well, and that is a general consensus. That there seems to be a great deal of fear in Georgia and Arizona. I even saw a top Democrat officials, a few of them say, yeah, we're kind of almost thinking about taking these states off the board based on the numbers they're seeing, which would mean Biden's only pathway is to, get Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania again. But I wanted to ask you whether you buy into that. And second part of that, Maine. Is Maine in play? Is there a state that we aren't talking about as a swing state? Minnesota, Virginia. Is there one that you could look at and say, hey, maybe this one's in play? I think the 7 or 8 that we talk about usually. Is there any other state out there that's standing out to you?
So it's important to remember that polls are not predictors of the futures. They're snapshots of the present. So things could change. But since New Year's, there have been 44 polls and nationwide polls, and Biden has only led in 6 of them. That is truly not only unprecedented for Biden and any Republican against Trump, but any Republican really going back to 2000. Bush was not leading in many early polls in 2004 when he won the national vote. So and state polls are starting to reflect that. There's the Des Moines Register poll today, which is the best pollster. Ann Selzer is the best pollster in America. She is very rarely wrong. She had Trump up +7 in both 16 and 20 in Iowa, and he won by 8. Today's poll came out, he is up by 15. And the way people vote is people vote in clusters. Iowa is not moving to the right and have Minnesota and Wisconsin maybe move to the left. They're all moving to the right together. And if Iowa is going from an R+7 state to an R+15 state, that is a Republican +2 national environment. That is a Trump +2 national environment. Things are very, very, very bad. I mean, I know Biden has a lot of money in the bank, is about $250 million from what I understand for the fall. But when voters have an opinion that is fixated, the way that Obama was able to create the narrative around Mitt Romney months before people even voted, there's really no shaking that. I don't know many people, unless something radically changes in our country, which could happen, a terrorist attack or a war or whatever, I don't see how people's opinions of Biden are going to change to being a competent, serious person. And I just think the news cycles are getting worse for him. He just gave a promotion to that woman who was in charge of leaving Afghanistan. I mean, I was all for leaving Afghanistan, but the way they did it was a disaster. There's no real noticing of how bad things are. And they're still, if they really cared, something would be done on the border right now, and nothing is being done on the border right now. And that is testament to how they think that they're not changing direction. And that's a very bad place when you're that far behind in so many national polls.
What do you think, Ryan, if we could try to surmise the top advisors around Biden and the people at the very top of the DNC hierarchy, if we could be in their smoke-filled, back room, understanding what they think is going to turn this around or what their plan is, do you have a sense of what it would be, or do you think that the plan right now is they don't have one because the plans are failing so far?
Well, their plan is that people are going to care about democracy and think of January 6th and the election as stolen. They even said so much yesterday in some media report that, no, January 6th is going to get us to Election Day victory. And with a certain voter demographic, they are 100% right. There are certain people that think January 6th happened basically yesterday and that democracy is under assault. They're not wrong about that. But it is a very luxury belief. It is a very bourgeois belief. And as much as they can sit there and say that, the economy is doing so well, and in some sectors it probably is, people are not feeling it when they're going grocery shopping. Inflation is still on their mind. Things like that are not changing, and the border is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. According to the latest poll from, I think it was the New York Times, it was 20% now say the border is their number one issue, which is extremely high. It's higher than the economy. And that is not a great place. That was the Wall Street Journal, rather, who said that. That is not a great place to be in when your biggest weakness of all polling is the number one issue. And we are early. They're already admitting there's 2 million more people coming between now and Election Day. As they come into our cities like Denver and New York, Boston, these places that are, and those are not in swing states, but Philadelphia, those places are experiencing huge cuts to their public sector help. They're experiencing an explosion of homelessness as these stories of illegal alien and migrant crime keep coming up. There was 9 big stories in the last week alone. Venezuela allegedly emptied out their prisons to send their gang members here. That is only going to make things worse for him. And they seem not to even notice because they believe there are enough white suburbanites who care enough about January 6th to get them to Election Day. Maybe they're right, but there is no hard indication in any of the data showing that.
Ryan, do you buy, I mentioned it a second ago, quick hit here to finish with you, Maine. Maine right now, I know they divvy up their 4 electoral votes by congressional district. I think gets 1 for each and then 2 overall. Right now they have Trump on the board winning at least one of those districts and potentially winning the state. Do you buy it?
If RFK is on the ballot, I think so. Maine is the state that Perot almost won. I think he lost Maine by 1 point back in 92, and he did very well in 96. It's a very independent-thinking state. They vote independents. Their senators, Angus King is an independent. Former governor was an independent. It absolutely could be if RFK is on the ballot. I don't think he's got ballot access yet, but we'll have to wait and see first.
Ryan, you kill it. We'll have you on quite a lot. Good luck. One more time, the candidate you're working for, we'll let you give him
Brandon Gill for
a
Congress,
pop here.
Texas 26, and the newsletter is the National Populist Newsletter on Substack.
Good stuff, Ryan Girdusky.
Thank you so much.
He's got good energy. He's working down in Dallas, working the poll. It's impossible for me to say that without thinking I'm in a strip club. But a lot of you out there working the polls. Maybe you're a little bit tired. Maybe you woke up, don't have the same energy that you used to. It's the middle of the week. You're starting to think, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to Friday. It's only Tuesday. It feels like it's Thursday already. Maybe you're going to stay up late tonight, watch some of the results come in. Maybe you're going to be watching college basketball like me. Good game, Purdue, Illinois. Great game, maybe Alabama, Florida. And you just don't have the energy when you wake up in the morning. How much different would you feel if you had 20% more energy? How about if you had a little bit more vitality? Maybe your New Year's resolution has already kind of gone by the wayside as we get into early March. Maybe you need to consider chalk. You don't want to look like Joe Biden walking along on the border, slow, plodding. At any moment, you might just fall over because you don't have the energy to just take another step. Get hooked up today with Chalk. They got a great offer for you. It's madness not to consider it as we roll through March. Use my name, Clay. You get hooked up. Chalk is CHOQ. Get 20% more testosterone in your life, all natural, by just taking their Chalk supplements. Again, CHOQ. Go check it out. They also have female vitality stacks. They will hook you up, and you will be well on your way to having the energy you need for 2024 to get through your day and have a little bit left in the tank. Get hooked up today. Chalk, CHOQ. Use my name, Clay. That's Chalk, CHOQ. Check it out today.